Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash, double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops, salutations to all our fellow laborers that do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth that be like unto the speckled bird. The Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations that look like those heathen nations. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. All right, once again, this is an Israelite thing, not a black thing. The Israelites got scattered among all people, and the Lord is coming back for his elect, for his scattered elect, to bring them back into the fold. What you're looking at is Encyclopedia Britannica, all right, and this is about the Maccabees, and we're kind of facing a similar situation now, among in Israel about what's about to happen and what is happening. And you got some camps out there that that are already saying we're in the new covenant. We were in the new covenant, we wouldn't get sick, we'd have new bodies, we'd be immortal. Yeah, the silliness of these. Be careful who you listen to. All right, but the Maccabees, also known as the Maccabees, you can see the different spelling, M-A-C-H. Let me get my pointer. All right. Macbees, because that's my son's name is Maccabee. And I kind of like that spelling, But the introduction, you can see over the table of contents, the historical content of the Maccabees, the prohibition of it says Jewish religion. No, it's the Israelites. You remember they dodged the hijack. And you were going to see that clearly in this article. Of this historical breakdown of the Britannica, how the hijacked the word, the J word. Remember, the letter J was not created until 1534. It wasn't used until well after the 1611, because in the 1611 King James Bible there is no letter J. All right, so just remember that they use that word Jewish to hijack Israelite and replace. This is replacement, so that the people who were subject under John Hyrcanus, which were Idumeans, which were Edomites, later on in history, those very people were the Khazars, and then the Khazars again chose to come back to their to their Judaism, to chose to follow Judaism, and the people in the land of Israel today are the descendants of those Khazars. All right, so it says once again, J-ish resistance is the Israelite resistance, Hanukkah. So this is how you know that once again that the Apocrypha is an important historical document as well as a part of the Bible, because first of all, Cambridge and Oxford didn't print it for nothing, and printed it in calling it the authorized King James Version. All right, so that's first and foremost. So it is a part of the Bible, and they removed it because it identifies the Romans, the Grecians, Alexander and his people as the Edomites, who are the wicked on the earth today. And also that the Edomites will be ruling the world upon the return of the Messiah, not Japhet. All right. The succession of Jonathan, the rule of Hyrcanus, and this is where the Edomites became J-ish, because under the authority of John Hyrcanus, after he conquered a portion of the Edomites, he forced them to follow our ways, and they became J-ish. And then you have the Herodians, and there was a show that was just on. It was actually a pretty good one. It's a really good watch, that those who are about to die. And in the third episode of that show, there's two important things that happen, and one of them is that the captured Hamite, the hunter, I can't think of his name right now. He was having a conversation with an Edomite captive. They both were being forced to be gladiators, and they were exchanging history and talking. And the Hamite, the African guy, began to talk about the time when the pharaohs were black. All right, which is true. In the time of the Israelites, when the Israelites became a nation and a people, and were mixing and mingling during the time of Moses, during the time of Joseph, and when his brothers sojourned down into Egypt, they were indeed so-called black people. All right. So this is and I'm relating this to the book of Maccabees, because I've been reading it a lot lately, just over and over again. The Spirit just has me in it. And but let's go to, I'm in Second Maccabees. Let me go to First Maccabees 1, and I'm gonna read to verse 9, and then we're gonna go into this article. It says, and it happened after Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, all right, which is Greece, which is in Western Asia, or they now call Eurasia, and there's no separation between Europe and Asia. It's Asia, all right. The land of Israel sits in Asia, all right. And I'm going to show you even some modern day maps to say that. This one here, the AS1 Asia map is one of my favorites. It's showing you it's not calling it the Middle East. All right, it's Asia, and Europe is, just because they painted Europe, the portion yellow, doesn't make it not. That's like it's like painting the south side of Chicago a different color on the map and then saying it's not Chicago. That's basically what they've done here. All right, but it says, and it happened after Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persian Medes, and had reigned the first in his stead, all right, over Greece. Stead meaning his stock, his race. So it's letting you know right here that the Alexander, who was an Edomite, a Macedonian, he reigned the first in his race over the Grecians, that they weren't the same. Then Alexander began to call himself Grecians. They adopted and took on their heritage. This is what they do. As a matter of fact, before I go any further, let's go to the scripture to prove that. Micah 2 and 2. And it says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, so that they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. All right, so that's their MO. They come in and they take over, and then they claim to be you. All right, they take over your lands, and then they claim that they are you. All right. Verse 2, and he made many wars, back in First Maccabees 1 and 2. And he made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted in his heart and lifted up, meaning his mind. All right, he was proud in his mind. All right, when someone lifts his up or raised the hand, they're coming against. All right, and he gathered mighty strong hosts, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries. And that's what the Maccabees is all about. And you're looking at the land of Israel, which had been infiltrated by Edomites and other heathens. All right, and the Maccabees had a certain portion of it that they kept, and they rose up to fight against the powers that be, which was the Seleucids, and tried to live according to their laws, their statutes and commandments. And there were many miracles that happened in their fight to get their independence from Edom and from Rome, all right, from Greece. It says, and after these he fell sick and perceived that he should die, wherein he called his servants, such as were honorable men that had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while they were yet alive. And Seleucus was one of them. All right. And Ptolemy, Cassander, and Lysimachus, I believe. I always forget the fourth one. All right. But But there you go. These 4 Edomite generals, they divided northern Africa, and portions of Western Asia among them, and portions of Eurasia among them. All right, and it says. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servant bare rules, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils multiplied in the earth. And the same thing is happening now. So it's kind of mirroring it, because the Edomites are in power, but they're fighting and battling among each other. Both because the EU is unstable, NATO is unstable, all right? And definitely here in America, you have an issue between the left and the right. The Edomites are the Democrats, the Edomites that are Republican, all right? The Edomites that so-called believe in the Bible Belt, and those that don't, all right? Edomites who like minorities, or and then the Edomites who absolutely hate the minorities. They're completely and totally divided. And I'll give you an example. I'm gonna play this video on a political scale. All right. So here, let's start this again. And it says sensitive conduct. And wow, look at this. It says sensitive contents. You think you're gonna see something bloody, and no. It's just because they walked out on B.B. Milkowski, also known as Netanyahu, the Edomite. Well, here you go. Watch anyway.
Some pretty incredible video footage I'm going to be sharing with you coming out today, September the 27th, 2024, as what you are witnessing right now is a walkout in the United Nations Assembly that took place today while Benjamin Netanyahu took the stage to address the 79th session of the UN General Assembly. Now, following this, there are World War III threats everywhere. Let me go ahead and share with you the latest headlines so you can see it for yourself. Take a look at this, you guys. No place in Iran that Israel cannot reach. Netanyahu's big warning at the UN. I have a message for the tyrants of Tehran. If you strike us, we will strike you. Netanyahu told the UN General Assembly. This again today, September the 27th, 2024. We are seeing these major warnings coming out from the stage of the United Nations. And take a look at this. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu slams UN General Assembly as a swamp of anti-Semitic bile in a fiery speech before dozens of diplomats begin to walk out. And you can see there are those that are applauding him. There are also those that walked out. Like I said, I'm going to share with you the video footage and the speech so you can see it for yourself. But this comes also as, take a look at this, Iran's grim World War III warning to punish Israel despite, quote, temporary Hezbollah ceasefire. We're hearing both sides are saying it's ramping up. They are ready for World War III. Israel saying this across the United Nations.
So once again, just like during the time of the Maccabees, the men of the Lord are in the crosshairs in the middle of Esau's battle against each other. And we're the real threat, and simply because we're speaking the truth. All right? And we're watching their society collapse around us. It's just like I was informing people yesterday that I'm 100% sure that the Constitution has been done away with. The Future Pact overrides constitutional law, overrides your Bill of Rights. So once they start implementing their measures, people are going to think that they can use the law to defend themselves, and you will not be able to. All right, and I have a personal testimony of that, of something that just happened. But nevertheless, we're going to stick with the lesson at hand, because that will lead us away. All right. So let me go back to Maccabee. I think I had one more. Maybe I did read it. I'll read verse 9 again. And it says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So evils multiplied in the earth when the white race came into power, and then they basically started calling themselves royals. They put crowns on their heads, and then they began to wreak havoc through the earth. Basically, this is when the blessing kicked in that Isaac gave Esau. He told him, by his sword he shall live. Alexander was the fulfillment of that, which is why they love him so much, all right, and reverence him in Edomite history, and completely whitewash history when they talk about him too, because Alexander was dealing with a lot of the heathens and melanated people, and a lot of people around him were also melanated. But you would never know that watching Western whitewash history of it. Okay, you would never know that he conquered. All the portion of Europe, what he was conquering was melanated people that lived in Europe, the sons of Japhet. All right, and that's what he did. Okay, so we're gonna jump into this article now, or this Britannica lesson, and this is out of the, and once again, dodge the hijack. It says the Maccabees, a priestly Jewish family, they're Levites. Why couldn't they just call them what they are? The Levites, lawyer, all right, are the tribe are the priest of Israel, all right, or they were at that time, because now, out of the elect, the 12, the Lord's going to make all of the men, all the judges will be priests now, all right. But it says, also known as Maccabees, written by George Angus Fulton Knight, fact-checked by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica. All right, so they told truth. They also told lies, because the Maccabees were Israelites, the remaining of the kingdom of David, of the house of David, which consisted of all, because some of the other tribes returned, but mainly Benjamin, Levi, and Judah, all right. But you also had remnant of the other tribes there as well. But it says, and this was 2024, so this is fairly new. All right, it says Maccabees flourished. The second century in Palestine were a priestly family, and we're not going to say that words, of Israelites who organized a successful rebellion against the Seleucid ruler Antiochus IV and reconstructed the defiled temple in Jerusalem. You can read First Maccabees in that same chapter if you jump up to I think it's 31 through like let me read that real quick, because they were doing the same thing that they're doing now, trying to make everyone one people after they've raped, robbed, and spoiled us, which they're still doing under the color of law here in Babylon in the West. First Maccabees 1:31. And when he had taken spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled it down. We're talking about Antiochus here, all right? And when he had taken spoils of the city, he set it on fire, pulled down the houses and the walls thereof on every side. But the women and children they took captive and possessed the cattle. So going right back to Micah, they covet fields, all right, and take your heritage. It says by violence they build it. They the city of David with a great and strong wall, mighty towers, and made it strong for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, fortified themselves therein, and sorted out it also with armor and victuals. And they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, and they laid them up there, so that they became a sore name. For it is a place to lie and wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, defiled it, insomuch the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled of them, whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers, became strange to those that were born to her, and her own children left. All right, and so these people are occupying, they occupied the land then, and they did it again, which, in Ezekiel, and that's modern day, Ezekiel the 36th chapter, something that they don't ever mention or talk about. Her sanctuary was laid waste in the wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths in reproach, her honor in contempt. as had been her glory, and her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to the whole kingdom that all should be one people, and that everyone, see, that's that new age order that they're trying again, that they're actually fulfilling it this time around, and that's also going to spell their end. But it says that everyone should leave this law. So all the heathen agreed to the commandment of the king. So all the heathen nations that were brought in, and the Edomites that were brought in, and all the other heathens that were brought into the land that you're looking at on the map, and throughout Eurasia, same thing was happening, further up in Greece, and throughout Eurasia. They were all basically calling themselves Grecians. They began to call themselves Romans. They were Hellenized. All right. Following after the Greekish fashion. All right. Yeah, many of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profane Sabbaths. All right. So many of the Israelites began to follow, and this was 400 years of Hellenization that took place before the Lord showed up on the scene. All right. Which is why his disciples were sent, after the Israelites that knew they were Israelites. And then Paul was sent to the Israelite foreigners, the Hellenized Israelite foreigners who were scattered among the heathen that looked like the heathen. Example, Acts 6:1. And it reads, and in those days, the number of the disciples were multiplied, and there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews because their widows were neglected in the daily administration. When you look that word Grecian up and it's the same also in Acts 9:29. All right, same word, all right. But when you look that word Grecian up, it's going to call them the Hellenista. All right, and the Hellenista were Israelites who spoke the Greek language or followed the Greek customs. All right. So now that we have that biblical perspective of the things that happened, we can go back into this article. All right. That was fact checked by the Britannica editors. All right. It says the historical context of the name Maccabee was a titled honor given to Judas, the son of Mattathias, and the hero of it says Jayish Wars, Israelites. War, see, once again, dodge the hijack. I keep telling you, they replaced the word Israelite with Jewish. This is what they do. This is not by accident. This is to control the narrative, to get you to think a certain way. All right. It says the War of Independence, 168 to 164 BCE. Later, the name Maccabee was extended to include his whole family, specifically Matthias, his father, Judas, his four brothers, John, Simon, Eleazar, and Jonathan. Its use was extended to John Hyrcanus, Simon's son, who was next in succession. So that will be the great nephew of Judas Maccabees. All right. It says there is no unanimity about the meaning of the title of Maccabee. The Hebrew name may be or reads hammer or hammerer or extinguisher. Since Judas held the initiative in the long war against the Syrians, and the Syrians were being ruled over by who? The Edomites. All right. He wasn't just warring with the Syrians. The Edomites had control over all of that. He was probably regarded in the same light as the King Edward of England, also known as the Hammer of the Scots. Remember, the word Scot means black. All right. They were called the swarthy hordes of Scotland. Swarthy means dark and complete. That's another thing, another hijack. They hijacked the word swarthy and replaced it with black in a lot of cases, because black can mean dark, evil, ugly, untrustworthy, and all these bad things. But if you say swarthy, then you know that you're talking about someone who has brown skin and usually woolly type hair. All right. Throughout the 2nd century BCE, the city of Jerusalem, Judah, lay between two great powers, Egypt and Syria. The Ptolemies ruled Egypt, the Seleucids in Syria. See? Edomites. All right. These were residential states. This is why the Arab nations are all lighter complexions of brown now. All right. All the Edomite blood and rape that they got, lighten them up. And there's still lots of dark Arabs, walking around too. All right. These are the residential states that had been left when Alexander the Great. All right, the NC, they call him the Great. He's just Alexander of Macedon. He's Alexander the Creep to us. The empire broke up about 20 years after his death. Antiochus ruled Syria from 175 to 164, 163 BCE. He carried the substitute name Epiphanes, a Greek word meaning God manifest, a conqueror of overwhelming pride. He is described in the book of Daniel in the Bible. He has set to seize Judea or Judah, which until he had been a province of Egypt, he aimed moreover to unify the heterogeneous empire behind the worship of Zeus, and therefore severely restricted the practice of, Judaism is completely against the Bible. What he did was he restricted the Israelites from following the law, statutes, and commandments. See, this is them lying and trying to control the narrative with wordplay. All right. Judaism does not follow the Bible. Judaism follows the Talmud, which is a different book. All right. I'm tempted to click on it, but I don't want to go off into another tangent. Whose strict monotheism impelled the realization of policy. All right. So basically, the same thing is happening now. As the Israelites, the Great Awakening, and the Israelites are out pushing the message because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal but spiritual, mighty to the pulling down of strongholds. Look at what's happened in the world these last 15, 16 years since the elders, the elder apostles, and the elders and the elder bishops went live, went on to the YouTube and went on the internet. And I've watched the world change and watched the prophecies now come down to the last ones now. You got those who are going to scoff, and then those who can actually see it are blessed. But then you got some people who see it and they still don't care. They just want to, live their life and accept the fact that they'll get the blessings on the other side, but they don't understand that their punishment on this side is going to be greater than great. It's going to be so much worse when you are aware of your heritage, when you're aware of the name of Yahweh Shai, and you just still choose to live your life, as you did before, following these false philosophies. And because all Christianity is full of paganism, and you're worshiping the same gods that we just read about, that Antiochus Epiphanes was pushing. All right, same thing. All right, then here, let's read one more paragraph. In Antiochus' day, the Syrians were devotees to the culture of Greece, which was worship of many gods. Well, and most of those gods go back to Africa, go back to the Hamites, back to Babylon. All right, which is also how that Babylon was ruled. There was ancient Africans that were living up there as well, the sons of Ham. It says, sought to continue his regard as a civilizing colonization process of Alexander. That's exactly what he was doing, violent colonization. For him, culture meant the pursuit of good, the restless, inquiring, creative spirit of Greece, which might today be called scientific spirit, was based on the assumption that man is the measure of all things. They didn't really believe in the Lord. Some of them, and then they believed in all their false gods too. So the Jewish view of life, on the other hand, was a totally opposition to that. The Hellenism had spread throughout the Middle East. Once again, it's called Asia. All these are these words. Here's a map of Asia. The Middle East is included in it. All right. As a matter of fact, let me click to this map of the Yarmouk River. All right, we'll end it here, because I was reading about the Yarmouk River in the book of Maccabees. And the Yarmouk River is east of is east, right along the edge of the Sea of Galilee, which is a giant lake in the land of Israel. And it was a route, a Roman trade route that they used. All right. And if you see right here, the Yarmouk River, what do you see? A tributary in Asia. Doesn't say the Middle East. That's like when you read about Greece and Rome, it says nothing about Europe. All right, so Esau, Edom is just being found to be liars, man. Let's go to Deuteronomy 33 and 29. And it says, Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, who is the sword of thy excellency. And thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. And simply by speaking this truth, we're treading upon their high places. Because they're, because I'm going to tell you, the Edomites, you were not the Spartans, you were not the Greeks, you were not the Romans originally. You are the biblical Edomites, point blank, period. All right, and you are liars, and your time is up. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah Kodash Kwam Yasharala Shalom Abba Baba.